So I'm here with Kim Inslee and Ryan Davenport, two former journalists who have since moved into PR and are on the Pineapple team. Thanks for joining me to chat about the changing media landscape and what all of this means for the future of journalism and communications. So, what was the biggest surprise you encountered when moving from journalism into PR?
You want to go first, Ryan?
Sure. I would say that it was a culture shock. Um, I'm not used to drafting quotes and then having someone approve them. That was hard for me. I almost felt like I was in the wrong, like, am I in the right place for the job? I didn't know how that would even go. I thought I was supposed to send the release with blanks and have them write it. And they're like, oh my gosh, no. So that was one thing. And then just sort of understanding how agencies work, and that was my experience. Was that I went to an agency and quickly realized I was not in Kansas anymore.
I wholeheartedly agree. So the first time I did a news release and I was telling my boss, and I'm gonna, go in so and so's office and get a quote from them. And she's like, no, 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 no. You will write it. And I thought, oh, that's sacrilegious. That was very hard.
Feel that being a former journalist gives you an advantage in the world of PR? For example, is it easier for you guys to be pitching newsrooms? And do you think people, maybe pay more attention to you guys when you pitch?
I think there's an awareness of when and how and sensitivity toward what that journalist is going through, what their job might look like. I don't view journalists as the enemy, and I've met a lot of people on the PR side, not the PR practitioners, who view journalists as enemies, but executives who may view journalists with a very, very wary eye.
TV, we see all kinds of public relations copy. We see press releases. We see big fancy kits, at least back in the day when, not that long ago, but you would receive physical items and food and all kinds of samples. And I kind of promised myself that, if I got into public relations, I would take my experience receiving press releases and do a better job. And not, some releases were great, well written, but a lot of them were just written very generically, not targeted me or anybody in our newsroom, and probably kind of in the wrong market.
Do you think there's been any changes in that relationship in the past 5 to 10 years?
I think that I have always enjoyed working with really good public relations people because they always understood, you know, what I needed from my end. I respect those who present me with things that are useful, and if they're forced to pitch me something that's not, I've had PR people say, you know what, this isn't the greatest thing in the world, but here's what I can do. Um, and I've also called up public relations people at times when I needed a segment. Hey, do you have anyone who can talk about this? And that comes from long-standing relationships. And I don't think that that's changed. If anything, given the shrinking of the newsrooms, I think
Mhm.
relationships are more important than ever.
I would agree. I think it's all about relationships. It's getting to know when you can, getting to know sometimes you just don't have that luxury, but if you can make a connection, I think news is still news, and so if you're pitching something that's kind of featurey or not a hard news thing, you have to take a different approach, right?
As insiders of newsrooms, what would you say to the people who do say, oh, journalists are biased or have these kind of opinions of, the legacy media can't be trusted anymore?
A journalist isn't someone that goes out and holds up a cell phone at an event and then puts that on social media. That's someone who is showing you something. But a journalist comes with training, skills, ethical considerations. And yes, journalists are people, and yes, they do have their own opinions. But as a journalist, you don't write your story or tell your story based on your opinion. You do it based on the factual reporting that you've done.
Are we seeing AI infiltrating newsrooms? And how is AI being used by reporters?
Reporters on tight deadlines might be tempted to turn to AI for some things. I've used it as a thought starter for headlines. I have used it to say, can you make this thing tighter? And some of the suggestions I've used and some not, I've never directly lifted from it. So it can be a guide and it can be helpful. I think you will see it in newsrooms when it gets to the point to where it's creating stories, and we've seen that happen already. That's not,
Mhm.
Yeah, I think Kim is right on with her points, and I would add that because newsrooms are shrinking, because there are fewer reporters in newsrooms, they're being asked to do more, right? And so the pressure to get those scripts turned in, to get a show on the air, is it kind of boggles my mind knowing that there was a lot of pressure. There's always pressure, right, to get it on the air, and I think this is going to be a challenge, and it's going to further erode the credibility of newsrooms, and so it's a very challenging kind of thing.
Do you think that there's, or how do you view the line now between editorial content and branded or sponsored content?
It's blurry. I don't know if that's what I think. What do you think, Kim? I mean, I think for consumers, it's getting more and more difficult to know the difference. And on the PR side, I think the question is, what is the client looking for? And what are the expectations? We used to, this has become again another slippery slope, because you might see the word sponsored content in very, very small font, right? And I don't know that my parents are going to notice that.
I agree. The news consumer has to educate themselves as well. So you're talking about, Ryan, the person who picks up the newspaper and may not notice that sponsored thing. Industry publications, you see this a lot, the whole pay to play thing. As a reader, you can't, hopefully people are aware of that, but not everybody is. So you really have to be very discerning about what you are reading, where it's coming from, and why. And it gets harder and harder. I think AI will make it harder too.
Do you think earned media is where PR clients need to be? And if not, how else and what other opportunities exist for these clients to get their messages out?
I think earned media is always great when you can get it, but you can't rely on it. I really am a strong proponent of using the channels that you have control of, which, yes, is LinkedIn and things like that. I think there are great opportunities there. And as we see earned media changing and kind of have to take into account that there's less and less of it to get a piece of, that you have to look at these other channels.
No question. I agree with that 100%. I mean, for me, it comes down to know your audience.
You're always better getting a bigger percentage of your target audience than a huge percentage of a lot of people who don't care about you. You can have an executive get a quote in the Wall Street Journal, but 99.9% of the people reading it aren't interested in that company per se. But if you can get into an industry publication, to Ryan's point, or if you can create a wonderful thought leadership piece that really gets into the nuts and bolts of what your target audience needs, and you understand what they need, then that can be more effective.
Budget plays a part, so you want to make sure you get as
Yeah.
much bang for your buck as possible. And trying to get the home run in a major national publication, there are times to go for that, but you could run out of budget pretty quick trying to get that one.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me today, guys. Great to hear from you. We'll continue to tap you guys for your expertise whenever possible, and I'll see you on emails soon.